Islam Whisperer. Before you accuse an infidel of hate speech against Islam, accuse Islam of hate speech against infidels. In Cruel and Usual Punishment, the book Noni Darwish wrote, she maintains that there are upwards of 35,000 Islamic laws and scriptures urging intolerance and violence against non-Muslims. If you go to cspipublishing.com, you'll find some excellent statistical charts on Islam. On one of the many excellent charts at this site is a breakdown of the anti-Jew text within Islamic holy writings. For comparison purposes, Hitler's Mein Kampf is referenced at 7% anti-Jew, slightly more than the Quran at 6.7% anti-Jew. If Islam is a serious threat to our Western way of life, don't we need to know about that? Don't we need, as infidels, the freedom to study what Islam is all about, and then the freedom to warn others according to our conclusions? Don't we need the freedom to compare our own conclusions on Islam with what other infidels have concluded about Islam? This requires freedom of speech for the sharing of knowledge, even if that knowledge be provably wrong or offensive to some. A part of freedom of speech is that particular ideas will offend others. It's a given. Some widely disseminated ideas are silly. Some so-called truths can be scientifically demonstrated to be false, even though a majority of people may believe them. The moment blasphemy laws kill freedom of speech, our Western culture is done. Stick a fork in it. When laws are in place which require that communication be inoffensive to everyone according to religious principles, scientific inquiry is finished. The proponents of slavery will have then won against us, the believers of liberty. What of the individual infidel who is offended by a particular religion? What of the individual infidel who is frightened and horrified by a particular religion? Is that person's voice to be silenced by mob rule and by fear? To be in opposition to Islam is not to be racist, but rather to be concerned about your own survival and the survival of your own culture. It is to be religionist in the sense of being in opposition to a specific religion. Muslims are all races. About 60% of the world's Muslims are not Arab, which makes Arabs a minority within Islam. Inside the United States, only about 20% of Arab Americans are Muslim. Race has nothing to do with it. Something like 65% of Arab Americans are pious Christians who put most of us casual homegrown American Christians to shame by their devotion to Christ. Christianity has an interpretive tradition where the violent Old Testament passages concerning non-Christians tend not to be taken so literally and are generally understood today to be amended by Christ's teachings in the New Testament. In church, a typical sermon today involves an appeal to good behavior, according to Christian principles and tolerance of others, regardless of their faith, although some fire and brimstone for personal failure to comply with Christ's message may be involved. It is a very personal thing, an intimate relationship between the valued individual and a basically loving God. Islam is the reverse. The peaceful passages in the Quran concerning infidels are canceled out by the violent passages about us, and the literal violent verses have been codified into unchangeable Islamic Sharia law for precisely how we infidels are to be subdued. In mosque, a typical sermon today involves an appeal to good behavior according to Islamic principles and prompts for intolerance concerning unclean infidels. Likely blaming infidels for Muslims' problems will be involved. And don't forget, religious chanting for the death of the enemies of Islam. It is an impersonal thing, a relationship between the Muslim group, which is superior to all else, the infidels who are inferior, all before a harsh, unpredictable God. Islam Whisperer.